with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and the first item on our agenda today, please, is Sandi Gray with the Humane Society. If you could come forward and introduce yourself and tell us who you represent.
I'm here to hopefully get to know all of you a little bit better. My name is Sandi Gray, and by day, I'm a performance analyst for American Electric Power, and by my off hours, I am a volunteer at the Whitley County Humane Shelter, and that's really where my passion lies. I've been volunteering since 2009, and I've worn a lot of different hats in that amount of time. Right now, I'm serving my second year as president of the board. So I hope that you all received a brochure from us. If you didn't, I have more with me. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things in the brochure that we have done in 2017. We did a technology upgrade. We have an animal software tracking system that we were using that was 10 years old or older, which in IT terms is really, really ancient. And so we really needed an upgrade of that, which we did accomplish in 2017. So we're now using Pet Point, which is much, much better than what we had before. The cost for doing that was about $1,000. We also had an anonymous donor buy for us the communication tool Constant Contact, which is a much more professional looking email system. When we advertise our fundraisers, or we call for volunteers, or anything that we use to communicate out to the public, we weren't not very professional looking, just using plain email, so this Constant Contact is really a much better tool. So we're glad to have that. Our website also was very antiquated, and that needed to be updated, so we got that accomplished last year. So now we're compatible with iPhones, and we have a mobile app that's really pretty nice. If you have a chance, maybe you could download that and look at it. All of our animals are advertised on that mobile app, so that gets the word out of our adoptable animals also. We did a couple of upgrades to the shelter itself, and one of them was we got a different kind of lighting fixtures, which we hope are going to start saving us in electricity costs. The middle section of here also will tell you a little bit about something a lot of people don't realize. We adopt animals out to people all over the country, actually. Not everybody is from Whitley County that comes to adopt from us. We've adopted to Michigan, to Ohio, to Wisconsin, and Illinois. Last year, the farthest one away was New York. Someone adopted a dog from us from New York. And that really shows the power of the internet. You can go on the internet on Pet Finders, where we post our animals to, and search for any kind of a breed of dog or cat that you're looking for, and you can find it. And that's what people do, and that's what brings them to us and to Whitley County. People that really would have no other reason to come to Columbia City other than a service that we provide for them, which I think is kind of neat. So, our Neuter for Nickel program, I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. We have a mass neuter male cat day in the springtime, and last year we neutered 277 cats in one day. That also brings people into Whitley County from not quite as far away as New York, but I talked to people from Bluffton last year, and Decatur, and Warsaw. They came to get their cats neutered during that day event. So that was pretty cool too. The biggest change that's happened just recently is our director, Sandi Grube, retired at the end of July, and our new director is Abbi Ogden. She's here with me today. Sandi spent 5 years as the director, and I think that's the longest anybody's ever served as the director before. Abbi has about 5 years of experience. She's a registered vet tech, and she's been working with us for about 5 years already. So she's stepping into that role now. Abbi and I are constantly looking for ways that we can improve and be more efficient and save money. We both know that there's never going to be enough money to do all the things that we want to do, but we're trying to be as efficient in everything as we possibly can. So our goal is to work smarter, not harder, always. So we intend to look for all kinds of ways in the future, too. We've changed a few things so far, but we're continually doing that. You may have heard so far this year we've had a couple of hoarder cases that I just wanted to give you a little more detail on. You may have heard already about the Drudge German Shepherds. That story made the paper. We made 4 trips out to the property where these dogs were being held, and finally on the 4th trip, we were able to take 14 German Shepherds out of a horse trailer. They were living in terrible, filthy conditions, so we were really, really glad that we could take them and start working with them, give them the medical care that they needed, get them socialized, and get them adopted. So we picked them up in February, and by April, we had adopted all 14 of them out. We did not have to euthanize anybody, so we were really happy about that. Just recently, in the last, I think about a month and a half ago, we also had another hoarder case that was 45 cats living in one house. So we went out there and we got 45 cats, but we were not able to save all of them. We only were able to save 16 and get them cleaned up and medically cared for and ready for adoption. A few have been adopted. We still have a few of those at the shelter. So these cases stretch our resources, but our staff really steps up when we need them to, puts in extra hours and puts in the time and the care to take care of them, because we're their only chance to ever have a good life. So we have a great staff, we have great volunteers that also pitch in, and we're really, really happy to have them. So I didn't know if you have any other questions for me, or if you have any questions for Abby.
Abby, with your vet tech being registered, can you do most of the vet services there, or do you have to bring a veterinarian in?
I'm not allowed to prescribe medicine out to the public. Like I can treat our animals within the shelter, but not. If you have questions, Dr. Landrum from Line Street comes in. And then we'll come in and check out any medical.
What's your success rate in finding homes for all the animals that come in to you?
Like our adoption rate, you mean?
Yeah.
It varies, but I think last year it was about 60%. Some animals go to rescues. There are specific rescues for specific breeds of dogs, for example, that will take a specific breed and work more one-on-one with them than we can. So sometimes we use rescues, and we do euthanize. We do have to sometimes. That's really the only option for some cases that we see. So, and some are returned to owners. We have a lot of that too. So when we give you a number of our intake, that includes a lot of that. I mean, they go out in various ways. That does include, dogs that are running loose, and the owners do come back and get them. So.
Well, I know from my experience, I bring quite a few animals down there. Do most of the animals that come in running at large get claimed by their owners?
I believe they do, yeah. Yeah, the majority of them do.
We do probably about 20 or 30. Live release rate last year was what? 95% getting them out, whatever the outcome was, whether it be released to the owner, adopted to a rescue. About 97, which our cats have increased throughout the year.
Yeah, we've gotten better about that.
What's the attitude from the public when they come to claim their dog? Are they usually grateful, or are they usually upset?
You probably see more of them than I do, because I'm only volunteering on Saturdays.
And it honestly just depends. I mean, there are the people that are very grateful. They do have to pay an owner reclaim fee for us housing them. Happy. It's only $35, but sometimes it's not the best situation. All dogs and cats that are reclaimed are microchipped, so if they come back in, we know faster who they belong to. Microchip is not a tracking device, but some people think that it is, and so it just kind of depends on the person, if they're happy with us or if they're so happy that they have to pay to get their animal back.
Well, I remember the days before you guys were in business, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
I might like to talk to you about that sometime. I'd be interested to know what that was like.
Oh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda is Kim Erdly, please.
Listen, we already did this. We already did the brief.
As a follow-up from being here last month for the additional appropriation for the switchover, the conversion from our Thomson Reuters system to our XSoft system. Jana had to do the legal notice publication, and that's been done, so I'm here to follow up on that and hopefully have your continued support on that.
So you got done what you needed to do, right?
Yep.
And everything's set to go. So I would ask the council at this time for a motion.
I move we approve the request.
I'll second.
And the request was for a total of $78,739.
Yes.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown that it was voted unanimously by all members that are present, with Chad Banks being absent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
You as well.
Next up, I would like to, at the council's approval, suspend the rules and inject Sheriff Gatton into the agenda. He has an issue that is not on your agenda, but it should be something that I think that we can listen to and handle today. So I'd ask for permission for council at this time to do that.
You have it. I'm sorry.
So moved.
Yeah, fine.
Sheriff Gatton, please.
Thank you. I'm coming before you today. We had a vehicle accident, hit a deer on July 7th of this year. At first, the insurance company thought they were going to fix the vehicle, and then they decided to total it out. So they cut a check on July 30th, and we got it late last week. The vehicle that was wrecked was our SUV, the Ford. We call them on the street Explorer, they call them a police interceptor. But they cut a check after the deductions of $13,293. I'm coming before you to request if we can have that money back to put forward to the new vehicles that are in and the building of them. We have 2 cars we have yet to pick up, but we have 1 Durango that's in already.
Where was that accident at, Mark?
I think it was on County Line 700 North, east of 9 up there towards Tri-Lakes.
It was a car deer.
Deer came out of a cornfield, and
How old was the vehicle?
I forget what, I think that was a 12 or 13.
And who was driving it?
Tony. Wasn't going to any calls or anything, was just driving on County Line Road.
What do we need to do? Approve this to go where?
Well, the check probably goes back into the general fund, and you want the money transferred then from the general fund back to what account, so you can use it for a vehicle? What account would it be going to?
We have that vehicle, I think that came out of Cume Cap, didn't it, for the vehicles? Or if it's easier for Jana to keep it in there and we just submit bills until we use that portion or request that portion out.
I mean, it's where we purchased it, so it could go back
To Kim
to
Cap?
Cume Gap, and then I could put it back into the sheriff vehicles account, yes.
So I'd ask for a motion to put the, what's the amount, Mark?
$13,293.
Back into Cume Cap from the county general, so the sheriff's department could use it for purchase of a new vehicle.
Look, you just went back for whatever you needed for, right?
Yeah, either
Commissioners
the,
have provided favorable pass to this also.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. Let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all members present voting.
thank you.
And then I think that brings us to George.
Okay, don't have a lot to bring forward. One of the things I've got is, I'd like to present to council. We met with our insurance, our liability insurance company about a month and a half ago, and they had requested that we do another appraisal, facilities appraisal, because we haven't done anything for at least, I think, 8 years is what it was. and they need to update everything. So they gave us the name of a company that does appraisals, that gives them a discount. We did check with them, checked with another company, and then this Deo's Stone and Associates that we contacted came in at $3,200 for the complete facilities appraisal. And that's dirt cheap for any kind of a business appraisal. It'd be like the courthouse, it'll be this building, it'll be all the buildings that we've got with appraisals. So I'm asking for funding for the $3,200 for the appraisal.
For where do you want that to come out of, George? Do you have it?
Probably Q-Cap, I would imagine.
And why do we have to have this appraisal done?
Well, to be able to give us a firm liability quote, because they truly don't know what any of our buildings currently are valued at. And so what they have to do to provide us with a quote, a firm quote, is to make sure that the facilities have been appraised. We have to do that about every 5 to 10 years.
So this
Have to do it.
appraisal is for the insurance company to give us our rates, or is it for us to leverage loans?
No, it's just for the insurance company. They've requested it.
To ensure that we're not.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
they
for-
wanna know what it's.
If something had burned down, if the courthouse had burned down, they want to know what the courthouse is valued at now, but we wouldn't get the value of the courthouse, we'd get replacement value, but they still, for liability purposes, they need to appraise all the buildings.
To ensure that we're
annex.
not underinsured.
Yeah.
This is,
So why doesn't the insurance company do that?
Yeah.
How is that not their responsibility?
We've always done that, and I guess I'd have to check into that, to be honest about it.
I mean, I know it's $3,000, but it's still $3,000. I mean, at home,
I'd have to agree with him, George, because my insurance company checks my buildings all the time to know where we're at as far as how much insurance we want to put on each building.
Yeah.
if we have as a county, feel like maybe we're underinsured, and we could take a loss if one of our buildings was blown away by a tornado, then I can see the point, but it's a simple request by the insurance. I guess the insurance company, I guess I'm at a loss to why that's our responsibility to provide that information.
I'll check into that.
Well,
We've always done that. I know with my businesses, I've always had to provide appraisals, and a lot more expensive than, but most of the time what they'll do is they'll have you do an interior also, an appraisal for all the interior furniture, computers, everything, but
yeah, it makes you wonder though, if you have an independent, you hiring an independent appraiser, but you'd think the insurance company would, because you could actually hire somebody that over-appraise it.
well, they gave me two options, and the other one, I can't remember the name of the company, but this was the cheaper of the two. And I see what you're saying, but like the courthouse, I don't know how you can appraise that, to be honest, but that's just replacement value is all they're giving us on that
How soon do you have to know on that, George? I mean, is that
by the end of
something?
the year.
So you got time to check and see if,
Oh, yeah.
if the insurance company you have now
Yeah,
will do it?
yeah, and this is Travelers that we're dealing with, our
Right.
liability insurance. And they're really good about things.
but they're the ones that presented to you the options of who could appraise our stuff?
Well, they gave us options, we could go any place we wanted.
Okay.
They gave us options that they know. This company just got through doing appraisal for the school system here, and I think, what was it, $2,300 they charged to do the,
But it was interior as well. It was
Yeah.
everything, not just
Yeah.
facilities.
Because I know in the past, Travelers, we've walked through with some of their people.
yeah. They're really good with us as far as with our safety committee and anything to help us with our liability, to reduce liability.
Yeah, they've been good to us.
Been
Yeah,
real good.
yeah.
We've been fortunate to even have insurance right now with some of the issues that we've had.
I guess that's just a new concept to me. I understand having to get an appraisal if you're trying to leverage for a loan, but I don't understand paying for appraisal because the company that insures you wants to know what your appraised value is. I guess I always thought that that's what they did, that was their job. So I would entertain a motion from council, though, on however you guys wish to move on this.
Well, I would think we could ask them that. Sorry, I don't think it's an emergency right now, is it? So sorry.
I guess I'd pull my request at this point until I do talk to the insurance company, and then we can deal with it after I talk to them.
Unless this is something that we need to move forward on, and there's someone wants to make a
I'm not
contingent
opposed
motion.
to it, George. I'm kind
Oh, I-
of stumbled why, or confused why the insurance company wouldn't do it anyway.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm good with George researching it and then bringing it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing I had was the favorable pass for the sheriff. And I think we're going to be talking about the commissioner's recommendation for pay raises. And what we've come up with is a recommendation of 3%. But what we'd like to see is not 3% taking, we don't want to see it done as a 3% of total payroll divided by the number of employees. We want to have 3% of their pay. Because what happens, if you do the total payroll divided by number of employees, what happens is after about 5 or 6 years, the lower paid employees are making almost what the higher paid employees are. It just keeps adding up. That $1,700 that we gave last year, that went on top of the wages, the salary that everybody's getting. So, $1,700 on a $30,000 wage is a lot of money, but on the sheriff, it's not that much money. But what you do is you start narrowing that gap, and it's going to cost the county a lot more. You understand what I'm saying on that?
All except for when you got to the part about how it's going to cost the county a lot more. I don't understand that.
Well, because you're going to have, it's going to go on total wages, and that's going to accumulate.
Over time, everyone's going to be at the same scale.
Yeah, it just.
Because you're bringing the base, you're increasing your base salary, and it's going like this, and everyone's going to be at the same level. Right now, you have different levels based on how they're classified and factored and points. But because you're giving this person more and this person less, everyone's going to be at the same level, and you won't have different pay grade levels based on your individual job descriptions. You're all going to be at the same salary level no matter what you do over time.
So if the sheriff makes I'm not real good with math, but if the sheriff makes $100,000 a year, and a jailer makes, what's a jailer make? $42,000 a year, and we give them both a $1,730 raise, how many years does that take to where they're making the same amount? How does that work?
Well, but the sheriff is much different than most county employees. So just because he's singled out, he's not a good person to actually compare everybody else to.
Okay.
Because he's at a
So if
a
you
different
have, so if you have a
range,
jail
but-
sergeant that makes, Mark? And a jailer that makes, so a difference of $3,000? So if you have a difference of $3,000, 45 and 42, and you give them both a $1,700 raise, how does that close that gap?
Percentage, you're talking percentages, really, is what you're talking here. Hey, here's the issue. Okay, if base pay right now is 42 for the jailers, if you, let's round it off, if you give them a raise of $2,000, and that's on their base pay, what happens in 5 years, that 42,000 is now 52,000 in 5 years, base pay. Right?
Okay, yep, I'm following you there.
Instead of doing it through our approved method of, if they have additional duties, then we give them raises. But you end up giving, at 42,000, if the jailer gets 2,000, their percentage is a lot higher than what the higher paid people make. So that's it's not equitable at all.
If you do a percent raise across the board, you give,
It's what we used to do all the time.
yeah, and eventually they get spread out. Then we have to readjust that someplace.
Well, it normally gets adjusted by if there are additional duties for that job. But like I say, with the way we're going right now, you're gonna have a $42,000 job is gonna end up in 5 years, and that's not far from now, as a $52,000 job, base pay. You're raising that base
That's a
pay.
$52,000 job today. That doesn't mean 5 years from now, it's a $52,000 job. That depends a little on the economy, which is
Well,
kind of my
right,
thought on
right.
the-
If we keep going the way we are. I mean, am I explaining it right on that?
So last year, because we did the flat rate increase of $1,730, for example, I'm just trying, that's dispatch. Some people earned a 4.33% increase, where other people may have only earned a 2% increase. So even though logically everybody got the same flat rate amount, everybody earned a different percentage, not based on their individual salary. So, not that it has to be fair, but a percentage allows each individual person to earn that 3% of what they currently make. And then everybody makes the same percentage, and some people aren't making 2% more than other people.
Remember what this is proposed on what you had asked them for? Basically, your spendable income goes down every year because of inflation. If you just follow the inflation rate, it keeps everybody at the basic same amount that they had last year to spend that they got next year to spend. So you're not giving them a raise of spendable free income. You're keeping up with inflation so that you maintain that same level.
Right.
Which I think was the reason for my thought on that.
And I agree with you, and I think the raises that we give, that we decide on at the end of the year, are not merit-based raises. They're not based on production, they're not based on productivity, they're not based on knowledge, they're not based on talents. It's based on a countywide raise.
What it costs you to live.
And what it costs you to live. I look at that as a cost of living increase. The system that we have in place to evaluate people's positions and what they should be paid is constantly fluid. Is constantly fluid, and that's where the separation comes, in my mind, in between a department supervisor and a worker, is in that process itself. But at the end of the year, when we're giving out raises that are not merit-based, but they're simply, I look at it as a cost of living increase for all employees. So the employee that makes $45,000 compared to the employee that makes $42,000 is still going to pay $1.89 for a loaf of bread rather than $1.79 the year before. That same dynamic is still in place for those people. regardless of where you're at on the pay scale. And that's where I look at the end of year incentive raises or raises that we give is it's not based on merit. It's based on the fact that you're a qualified full-time employee for the county.
And maybe that needs to be done as a separate individual check, like you do the longevity checks, and not included on your base salary amount. That's just a flat rate. Each person gets $17.30 done and over with, since
Well, my
it's
thought was
not
just-
a merit raise.
Simply to keep the employees' income level related to what it costs to live.
And that's exactly right, if you do the percentage of each individual. But if you take the total monies and divide it by the number of employees, the lower paid people get a lot higher percentage than what the higher people.
Wasn't part of our school of thought by going with a standard raise across the board, raising the lower level of employees' wages to bring it up to where recruiting would be better to fill those positions?
I think that's definitely a byproduct of the concept, yes.
And Sheriff, are you having trouble recruiting, say, a jailer at base price?
Not so much, because those are the people that are wanting to come into the field. And they're happy to start, with whatever. But yeah, when you guys give us a flat rate, then as department heads, we hear, well, they got a 4%, I got .09. And that causes this tension amongst them, so. But as far as our base rate right now, no, that's not what's deterring our applications, John. It's just people don't want to come inside and work inside a facility. Or even, for that much, even become police officers as much as they wanted to. We're a bad example right now for that part. And for counties around us and communities our size, I think we're doing pretty well, at least in our field. In the law enforcement field, we're doing all right.
Are we having difficulty in retention of employees?
Yes. Some of it is, the last two, one went to work release. Well, the last two both are transferring out to work release, so they just decided the jail setting wasn't quite what they
Well, yeah.
So they're going to go with something a little less stressful.
Well, that gives us
It's
something to
we
think
can
about.
discuss
Yep,
when we
it'll be coming up
start in on the
shortly.
salaries.
Thank you for your input on it, though, George, appreciate it.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, any questions for George, please?
I just have a comment. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read and review the minutes? And at this time, I would ask, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were presented to you? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion, please.
Never got a copy.
I never had a copy.
I didn't either, but I just got,
I emailed it.
I guess I can't.
I got my packet yesterday, but there was no minutes in it.
That's what,
Sorry, I emailed it.
And I don't know what the answer is. I get the email, I get the attachment, but I can't open it.
And I can't either.
I can't
You
either.
can't either, can you, George?
I can with my phone now. I had a preferred IT work with me on that.
That's something we need to correct, though. There's
Well, and
enough
I've
of us
asked
that don't
Preferred
get it.
IT to look into my email, and they always say it's the recipient's side of it, it's not mine.
I
That's
can
what they
call it
always
up.
tell me, so. They said it has to do with a lot of the email that you're using, like if you use Yahoo or AOL or something like that, then a
Yeah,
lot
my-
of times it won't open on their end, so.
Well, at the risk of bankrupting the county, let's go ahead and send out a copy of the minutes in a written form to each member after the meeting. So they have 3 weeks to review it, and we have those in our hand. If we could do that, that would be great. I know sometimes the packets aren't getting sent out, and I'm getting the information, the people that are
This is
getting
the
the
first time I
emails are
haven't
getting the
gotten one, but
information.
always when I get this stuff in the mail, I've always got minutes in it, but I didn't have one this time.
That's what mine, I got
if I get
the
it,
packet.
I just got my packet yesterday, and had the minutes been there, I would have them read, but
Well, and I think that we still have that dynamic that everybody does not have electronic means available to review documents. So I guess we would circle back to my request to have packets sent out 2 weeks previous to meetings, and any information that we have at the time needs to be sent out, and I guess the minutes could be, or definitely should be ready by then. And let's have those sent out with any information. I think that's what we were trying to get towards, is for everybody to have the information at least 2 weeks before the meeting.
Well, sometimes the minutes do come in the packet, but this didn't happen to this time.
Okay, so we will then put that on next month's agenda to pass the minutes, as we do not have a quorum to pass the minutes today. So next month, we will approve the minutes from
Both meetings.
both July and August, please. Any further business? Councilman Barrett?
I have none.
Councilman O'Dea, Councilman Bayman? Councilman
Thank
LaRue? And I have nothing. Anybody from the audience have anything today for us, please?
You know, maybe we should have talked about this a little bit too on the,
Does that, does the next part of the budget changes recommendation happen under the coverage of our meeting, or is the meeting end and then we go into
No,
that?
this will be budget.
No, this is.
well, no, this isn't.
No, I have something.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
So you guys got this in your
Yeah.
packets? Yeah, okay. So what happened is our salary ordinance runs from the second pay to the first pay of the following year. So when we went from 26 to 27 pays, we didn't account for the people that were in that threshold that would make more, they made more last year biweekly than they made this year. We didn't account for that difference. So for my salary, for example, I made more the first pay this year than I did the second pay, so there's a shortage in my account, my line item, or my distribution number of $10, as you can see on the spreadsheet. Because that's what I got paid more the first pay than I did the second pay. So, I mean, anyone that was, again, like I said, they made less bi-weekly this year than they did last year, they're gonna have a shortage in their line item. Does that make
Understand
sense?
this, right? This number out here is, this is what we actually budgeted for the year.
Yes,
So actually, we owe that money, period, right?
right.
On this pay.
Well, and that was my request is, would you like me to go, do you guys wanna decide where the funds are gonna come from? Do you want me to go to each individual department and ask for a transfer? What would you like me to do to let them know about all these shortages?
It doesn't total very much, the whole thing, does it?
No, it's,
I'd just pay it and be done with it.
Yeah.
well, I can't just pay it because it's gonna be negative in all these line items.
Right.
So what do
We
you
have to do
recommend
something.
to correct this?
I mean, transfers would be the best option if anybody has.
Transfer from where to where?
Like if they have extra in their supplies line item, transfer it. If they have extra, if they had, a time where someone wasn't hired, if they had a gap, I transfer it from there because they're not gonna be paying that person all that's left. Examples like that. So that
see.
would be,
Some's already come forward that they did have transfer. I see Scott and Brandon, and they can handle it, and
yeah, some of them have already said, yeah, but, I figured that I wanted to bring this for you guys because, and you guys kind of give me a direction of what you would like me to do.
why don't you just contact them, see about transferring?
Because it's not going to amount to that big a deal.
We just have to cover it, so.
Well, Scott's would come from his fund, it wouldn't come from general fund. That comes from the health fund, and for what Scott Wagner's,
Right, right.
I think you just take it out of the general fund and pay him.
Well, and see, and that's where you guys come in. If that's something
Yeah.
you guys want me to do, you have to let me know.
To me, it makes sense, like we owe him the money. Because that's what we told them at the budget, we were gonna pay every year.
But what Jan is saying, it would be easier for her if she could transfer it, or they could transfer it out of one of their item lines into another, that almost all of them, or probably all of them, have some extra money sitting around when we're talking about such small
And
amounts.
you're talking about a couple $100 or $90, or they ought to be able to transfer that.
that what the motion needs to be is use Jana's discretion on what funds should be transferred out to make up the shortages.
And if there's one of the departments that does not have the funds available anywhere to transfer, then to come back to us
I'll be back.
to
I'll make
for
a
an
motion
additional
that we let
appropriation.
Jana use her own discretion, and she can get the transfers if available, and if not, she can request next month that we pay from the general fund.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand, and all those opposed, the same, and let it be shown that it is passed unanimously by all members that are present.
Thanks, John.
Anything else? Meeting is adjourned. Please stick around for the second part, please.
Gotta get my book out there.